Hey, if you've clicked on this video, it's probably because you want to get better at Bedwars. In fact, you've probably clicked on so many tutorials and then came to this one, hoping that this would be the right one and make you better. And while tutorials can help with your gameplay, what really makes you better at the game is playing the game and having good game sense at it. So when you repeatedly play the game, you naturally just become better at it. So instead of watching all these tutorials, why don't you just boot up a Hive Bedwars game and go play? That being said, you might still want to stick around because there might be some tips that can help you if you're struggling. And while this tutorial isn't directly geared to beginners, I still feel like beginners can still watch this and get something out of it. Likewise, more experienced players can also learn things from this tutorial, so you just might want to stick around. And quick disclaimer, tutorials on jump bridging and PvP will not be included in this tutorial. Just wanted to put that out there. But without further ado, let's go on. It's time to become better at Hive Bedwars. Immediately upon entering the lobby for a solos Bedwars game, you'll want to check the players and see their levels, then gauge how better, or worse, they are from you. The levels of the players will entirely dictate your strategy and how you'll play the Bedwars game. If you think that the players are too sweaty, or you just might lose due to their being high levels, requeuing is always an option. That being said, I do advise against it. Excessively requeuing can become a habit, and it's not a good one. Therefore, you should only requeue if you have a really good win streak going on, or if you really think that you're gonna lose. Now, once you've gotten into a game, it's good to go to the generator and wait for 5 iron there. That way you can use that to buy blocks and bridge to the Diamond Island. If you in your first rush manage to make it to the Diamond Island, then you're gonna either have to be ready for a bridge fight, or to just block off the Diamond Island. Once you've made it back to your gen, you need to upgrade it, and then decide how you want to play. If the person you're up against is not very good at the game, and you know they haven't left their island yet, then it might be good to just buy blocks and rush them immediately. This was the original strategy in Treasure Wars back in the day, when people bought 32 blocks after getting 5 gold and rushed their opponents immediately. That being said, there are alternative options, like the defect strat, where you go up to the Diamond Gen again, wait for 2, and then buy Deep Slate. And this strat is basically overpowered because it takes 0 skill, and people will have to get a pickaxe and wait for 4 diamonds, which is just not accessible in the early game. It can be applied in almost any situation, and it'll stop higher levels right in their tracks. Now here's when you'll decide if you want to play aggressively or defensively. The defensive strategy on the right is where you go to mid and get emeralds, effectively becoming richer than everyone, and ensuring your victory. However, the left side is the more aggressive strategy, which can lead you to getting more XP and leveling up faster, along with becoming better at the game. However, you're never obligated to a certain strategy, and you can pick whichever one feels right for you in the game specifically, or just gear towards one that you play better in. That being said, let's shift a bit and look at the more defensive strategy, where you go to mid and get emeralds. Emeralds are by far the most expensive thing you can get in Bedwars, and can lead you to be getting a lot of expensive items, like diamond armor, the most expensive item in the game, costing 32 diamonds and 4 emeralds. It's essentially the pinnacle of defensive play, and once someone gets diamond armor, it's really hard for others to as well. And I will say, this one attribute causes diamond armor to be pretty hated. And while its uses are applicable, you're really only going to be getting better at the game if you refrain from getting diamond armor. So here's my rule. Only get diamond armor if your other opponent does. Now let's do a complete magnetic shift and discuss the more advanced tactic, which is the aggressive strategy, in which you buy chain and bridge with planks. Now this strategy is really effective because it leads you to saving on resources. This is mainly because buying 32 planks is much cheaper than buying 32 wool. Overall, this strategy ensures quick games and getting a lot of XP. As you can see, it's been like 2 minutes and there's already only 2 teams left. Don't feel discouraged if you really can't do this strategy yet. You might want to stick to a more defensive strategy, or just intertwine the two in your own strategy that contains aggressive and defensive tactics, and when you're ready, you can move on to more aggressive tactics, because they are objectively better. Of course, you don't want to stay in chain armor for the entire game though, so you're going to want to be saving up for iron armor, and hoard as many resources as you can from enemy bases. While these strategies can be thought of as polar opposites, they both utilize a very specific array of items. These items can be ranging from things like blocks, to other things like knockback dories, which can literally send people flying. And now, we'll be discussing these items, and I'll tell you how they can lead to tactical advantages and wins in your Bedwars games. Apart from bridging, another use of blocks is blocking in, a strategy used by high-tech players to essentially burrow themselves in the defense. You do this by placing blocks around you and covering yourself in. This way, opponents can't get you while you're breaking the bed. Here are a few examples of blocking in. Additionally, blocks can be used to get yourself out of tricky situations like this one. Blocks are truly an all-utility item and can be used in a variety of different situations. However, why don't we switch topics and move to PvP? What are some items that can help with PvP? Okay, but before we move on, I just want to say, if you're enjoying the video, which you probably very well are, then consider subscribing. It really doesn't take a lot, and it helps me a bunch. The Diamond Sword outputs the most damage of every PvP item, and it has the ability to shred through every single gear except Diamond Armor, where it does a half a heart. For reference, you can literally get Chain Armor and a Diamond Sword, and that would output virtually the same damage as someone in Iron Armor. I mean, just look at how long it takes to kill this guy. Yeah, getting your hands on this is very important in a Bedwars game, especially if you're playing more defensively. Next up, we have a bow that also can do a lot of damage to people that aren't in armor. It's the most useful projectile in the game and can also be used to start combos, like in this example. Next up, we have the Fireball, which can basically two-shot someone. Just look at this. And finally, we have the Knockback Dory, perhaps the funniest PvP item, and is essentially a free kill. There are also other items that aren't necessarily geared towards PvP like the Ender Pearl in this clip, and while I don't exactly have a clip for Gapples, they can still be used to quickly regenerate your health. If you've made it to a late game, then there are also some items that you need to ensure you have to win. These items include, but are not limited to, Emeralds, which can get you some really expensive and useful items, Diamond Armor, which can tank up to 20 hits of damage, the Bow, which can initiate combos, which is useful in final UHC type situations, and the Pickaxe for destroying the final few beds in the game. The last thing I want to discuss in this tutorial is game sense. It's by far the most important aspect in a Bedwars game. You can be as good as Andrew Hacks in PvP, but if you don't know what you're doing, then you're not gonna win. So here are a few tips so you can be a cut above the rest. If you notice that there are not a lot of teams left despite it being pretty early in the game, then that means that it's time to head to mid. Playing aggressively leads to slow development because everyone else would have mid and be more rich than you. Right here, I just side rushed Orange, a team that was actually heading to mid. But the thing is now that I destroyed their bed, they're gonna want to target me. So I know that they're probably gonna get my bed, and guess what happened a few seconds later? And so I knew I could no longer play aggressively and had to focus on getting richer to secure this game. Or in this example, where I targeted the one team that went to mid, which is Red Team. In all these games, I critically analyzed the situation and made the best moves leading to my win. And that's pretty much it. I think I covered everything that was important, and this should be a good tutorial that could get you guys involved in Bedwars. Of course, if you're a beginner, this was probably helpful, as it taught you many things you probably didn't know before. And even if you are a more experienced player, things like game sense are important for you. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.